Hello, this is Valerie Moore from the Frederian Gazette. Thank you for joining us this rainy Wednesday evening. Whether you're on your way home from the office, running an errand, or just need a friendly voice to listen to, we're happy you chose to listen to our reenactment of the controversial book Say I Sue Them Not, written by Kingsley Montevello, edited by Alexander Phillips, and narrated by Pepper Holloway. If you've enjoyed our program so far and want to support independent journalism, please donate to our Ko-Fi at www.ko-fi.com/The Frederian Gazette. Content warnings for this episode include white people struggling to understand colonialism, mass death, selling body parts, colonial violence, police brutality and violence, alcoholism, loss of bodily autonomy, inability to claim body of loved ones, and trauma. This program has been sponsored by Hevian and Daughters Tailor Shop. Doesn't matter if you're a Hevian, a Minotaur, a Gargoyle, or even a demon, we know how to perform alterations for any body type. Join us on 147 West Clover Avenue and never feel embarrassed in your own clothes again. We now pass the mic to Pepper Holloway, who will be reading Hevian Police Department illegally sold the bodies of the victims of Siegfried's Day to the black market. Alexander Phillips's letter to their sibling, Sam Phillips, October 2nd, 1875. Hi, Sam. I am on a train back from Oak Hall to Bearcassa. Devin, Margaret, and Caroline invited me to attend the 46th anniversary of Siegfried's Day, and I couldn't refuse. I needed to get away after publishing Kingsley's chapter on Siegfried's Day and Sebastian Wallace's acquittal. If I'm not being hounded by furious Hevians for publishing Kingsley's quote-unquote lies, then I'm resisting the urge to break my scotch glass over the head of a Hevian politician or lawyer celebrating Sebastian's verdict. None of my Itatel companions were surprised. They're angrier about what was revealed in Sebastian's trial than the trial itself. Sam, Sebastian was wearing cufflinks made from Siegfried's horns. For 46 years, that fucking bastard wore the remains of Kingsley's cousin in front of him, and Kingsley never knew. Who the fuck wears the remains of another being? This means none of the bodies were burnt. Instead, they were turned over to the black market, and God knows who has shoes made from Sandy's skin and a necklace made from Asia and Ernest's horns. The outcry, Sam, the outcry heard in that courtroom when the prosecution revealed the truth. It was the only time we'll ever see Kingsley, Devin, Caroline, and Margaret united in a common cause, beating Sebastian to death. Margaret got the closest to the witness stand before being tackled by 5 guards. Matt's pulled a favor for me to get the trio out of jail, although they are temporarily banned from entering the courthouse. I don't understand. I've never understood the trade of Itatel body parts, but to see it in this day and age? Sebastian seemed surprised when the prosecution called it out, as if he had forgotten where the cufflinks originated from. It was such an accepted part of life that he even think about wearing cuffs made from Itatel horn. He always did it, and always will. Amalbar Sam writing about it infuriates me all over again. That, combined with the fact that the fucking bastard was found not guilty, the man who saved Kingsley's political career, who organized several peace treaties between the ILA and the Hevians, who profited from the black market, who was deep within the Shadow's pocket, and who served in Kingsley's cabinet during the Second Shadow War, he's not fucking guilty of anything, even though his charges are exactly the same as fucking Kingsley. Is Kingsley going to be found not guilty as well? Or will they only hang the Itatel rebel? Can't harm one of their own, even though Sebastian betrayed the Hevian government multiple times throughout his treacherous life. You sound like Margaret. I've never been to a commemoration of Siegfried's Day. I know the Children of Liberty organize memorials in several cities back home, but I've never gone. It's an understandably somber affair in Kilbrada. We gathered in front of Les Braga Cemetery. President Cathell briefly greeted us only because we were with his mother. He changed the programming a few weeks ago when he found out Margaret was nearby, and so she opened the ceremony with a poem. The Itatel spoke in Itali, but Margaret gave me a copy of her poem to print in the Frederian Gazette. This is one of my favorite verses. I see you everywhere. Your statues multiply with each passing year. 1,000 mouths have taken your name in reverence, while others spill 3 oceans worth of tears, as if they can craft a better monument to your sacrifice than children breathing their own air, digging up worms in their own land, confident the future is theirs. Then Prince Rashid from Sondera spoke. Even I have to admit he's a strikingly handsome man. His languid, elegant movements are of a man who has time on his side, and the gray streaks in his curly mane-like hair are reminiscent of a lion in his prime. He dressed in a modest assembly of a black shirt with golden embroidery along the sleeves that came down to his thighs, black pants, and a black eye patch on his left eye. He spoke in pidgin Ikali of tragedy and loss, and reaffirmed Sondera's commitment to Kilbrada. After Rashid, a representative from the Fendal Republic spoke, claiming he had the power to speak for all of the Alcohun republics. He was also dressed modestly in an all-black attire. During his speech, he acknowledged the presence of Prince Rashid, commenting that Siegfried's day's greatest legacy was bringing together the most bitter of foes to resist injustice. A surprisingly and worrying sentiment for the Hevians. There has never been peace between Sondera and Alcohun in the entirety of Telemaker's history. If they have put aside their differences to bolster Kilbrada, then Hiva is offering itself to be carved up and shared amongst its former colonies. Can anyone truly be that self-destructive? Cathal spoke next, and he is a gifted orator. Whatever tension existed between Kingsley and the Dalloways didn't prevent Cathal from uplifting the many ILA members killed that day. He also vowed to track down every piece of clothing and jewelry made from the fallen ILA members and return them to Kilbrada. A small choir sang for the Netz Ikatel who dies, and it was picked up by the large crowd. There must have been thousands of Ikatel that day. I can count on one hand how many Hevians and Ferdarians attended, but it seemed like the entire Indarium diaspora paid their respects to Kilbrada's dead. There were the expected Minotaurs and Vishstruts, and a few Phoenixes, and even the people of the Blood Forest. After we sang, there was a 7-gun salute, and we were given pink roses and marched through the cemetery until we reached the green and black marble statue that had only been completed 2 years ago. It was of a wounded Ikatel carved in green marble, being held by another Ikatel, while a third Ikatel raised a revolver, clearly trying to protect the pair. The names of the fallen were written in gold on the black marble base. We laid our thousands of roses and moved on. Cathal invited the trio for dinner, and I returned to the hotel room I was sharing with Devin. Devin returned only an hour or 2 later, claiming he wasn't in the mood for a state dinner. I offered to give him the room, but he asked if I wanted a drink. We went to the tavern across the street, Devin already on friendly terms with the barkeep, and we sat at a table in the corner, nursing 2 warm beers. After a few failed attempts at small talk, Devin finally said, "It's funny, but I can't stop thinking about Keynes and his dad." I expressed surprise at his train of thought, and he explained that for a long time he couldn't understand why Kingsley hated his father. He was a quote-unquote decent enough Ikatel, and Katerina was kind for a Hevian. Devin pestered him about it for months until Kingsley finally told him about his mother. Trippe broke Rory, Devin told me. He fell into drink after the war, leaving Mary, Keynes' mom, to provide for the family. She fell ill after Keynes' birth, but they couldn't afford the medicine, so she never recovered. Keynes took odd jobs as soon as he was able to walk. He and his mom used to sew clothes for a local shop long into the night, and then Keynes would wake up in the morning for his newspaper run or chimney sweeping or whatever job he could find. And Mary went to one of Berkassa's new factories. Meanwhile, Rory spent all their money on alcohol, and when he wasn't drinking, he was sleeping. This went on for years. One morning, Kingsley, who must have been 9 at the time, returned from chimney sweeping and saw both of his parents were still in bed. It seemed odd, but he was too excited to think about it. It wasn't every morning he got to spend time with both of his parents. He put his things away and he snuggled up to his mother, but she was stiff and cold, and she wasn't breathing. He tried to wake her, but he couldn't. He went to his father, but Rory was useless. He called for help, begged his mother to wake up, did everything he could, but it didn't matter. She was gone. He slumped to his knees and he stared at his mother, maybe for hours. Finally, he crawled back into her arms and he laid there for most of the day until Rory finally woke up and discovered Mary was dead. 6 months later, Katerina took them in, and a few months later, Rory stopped drinking. He paused there to take a deep swig of beer before looking at me. It's so easy to despise the ones you love for what they did to survive. I asked Devin if he still loved Kingsley, and he smiled sadly. I love who he could have been. Who he had been before. That damnable word stabbed me like a knife in the heart. I despise its gaping, chasmic nature. How it swallows both the future and the past until there is nothing left but this maddeningly thought of before. As if time can be carved into segments, the good and the bad, the pleasant and the horrible. I despise it because it suggests that there's an inherent structure to our lives, cause and effect, purpose and consequence. If only we changed this one event, everything would be different. If only Kingsley died at Siegfried's day. If only Margaret and Sean dethroned Siegfried before September 28th. If only Christine had gone to school in Further instead of Hiva. If only I hadn't confused children with stability. If only I'd listened to the doctors. If only I hadn't shaken Resin's hand. If only I had asked a favor of the demon monarch. I could have done it, if I hadn't been so arrogant, terrified, and short-sighted. If only I had swallowed my disgust and anger at being a puppet for Resin and Kingsley and thought things through. I could have asked about Christine. I could have spared her the torture Resin and Kingsley had in store for her. Resin would have spared her if I asked. Demons are strange that way. Show a moment of kindness and it's never forgotten. If only Kingsley died at Siegfried's day. If only Margaret and Sean dethroned Siegfried before September 28th. If only Christine had gone to school in Further instead of Hiva. If only I hadn't confused children with stability. If only I'd listened to the doctors. If only I hadn't shaken Resin's hand. If only I had asked a favor of the demon monarch. I could have done it if I hadn't been so arrogant, terrified, and short-sighted. If only I had swallowed my disgust and anger at being a puppet for Resin and Kingsley and thought things through. I could have asked about Christine. Could have spared her the torture Resin and Kingsley had in store for her. Resin would have spared her if I asked. Demons are strange that way. Show a moment of kindness and it's never forgotten. Sometimes I still feel his icy cold hand in mine, his claws prickling my skin, drawing drops of blood. My heart rate stopping in my chest as I understand I am standing before one of death's many personifications. That I had somehow made an unholy bargain by showing a demon a modicum of kindness. Resin remembered our 30-second meeting. I don't know why he did, but he remembered, and when he found me near death on the battlefield, a war correspondent at the wrong place and the wrong time, he carried me to the field hospital, and from there back to Berkassa, marked me with his sigil of protection, and had his best doctors treat my wounds. Told Kingsley to spare me whatever the hell he put his political enemies through. I don't know which one realized I was the chief of staff's child, that I was valuable as a hostage and a reporter, but both took advantage. What could poor Quentin do but publish their bullshit to keep me alive? Sam says General Banks wrestled long and hard with how to respond to their demands. No one thought of poor Christine when she needed us most. It's so easy to despise yourself for what you did to survive. You've just heard Hevian Police Department illegally sold the bodies of the victims of Siegfried's Day to the black market from Say I Sue Them Not by Kingsley Montevello. Tonight's episode was read by Pepper Holloway and was sponsored by Heon and Daughters Tailor Shop. No tailoring requirement is impossible for us to meet. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky at Ferdarian Gazette and go to our website, www.theferdariangazette.com, for episode extras. Join us next Wednesday at 5 p.m. for episode 20, Lead Prosecutor in Kingsley's Trial, Tate's Own Life, Trial Put on Hold.